Welcome to Master Student, where knowledge is true wealth.
What is your take on death? Because a lot of people, we still fear death. We still don't understand death. We've been taught to fear death, and that's what the Europeans, the Caucasian, teaches us, to fear that line. Talk to us about death, brother.
Well, one of the first things we need to remember is that once we got all excited about Kemet, when you actually study into the mystery, you will find it would look to the common eye that they were obsessed with death. So the scientists, the occultists, which I follow, as Brother Sadnetta just said, in the footsteps of Bobby Hemmett, as the occultist is to understand the mystery or the science of why they were doing what they were doing, for understanding, as you already accepted, that they were doing this for higher reasons. And one of the things we found out that in the 17th dynasty, I believe, I remember Dr. Africa talking about this as someone, that's when they started writing all these hieroglyphs, meaning they came into an understanding that we would forget this. And so if they understood we would forget this, and what message did we decide to leave ourselves? What would be the most important thing we said? And when you deal with these hieroglyphs, it's nothing but death. If they knew we were going to be in this situation, we haven't heard anything about health, economics, all the things that we have learned to put our energy into as something to save us. None of the Egyptians were writing about that. They wrote about death, how to die and never come back. So when you study, there are things that are pretty in the field of the study that are a little bit more straightforward about death and what happens. But ultimately, when you study all the mythology, all the ancient thought, you'll find that in some way or another, in some sort of coded way, they were trying to let you know, you need to die and not come back here. Your true enemy is humanity. Humanity is your true enemy. Everything else are just distractions or added on. If you wasn't human, we wouldn't have nothing to talk about. If you could get beyond humanity, then you don't need to talk about health. You don't need to talk about law. You don't need to talk about nothing but dying and not coming back. And guess what? That's what the Egyptians were doing. That's what they were doing. So if we like to romanticize like Wakanda about shit that don't even exist, because we do know in our heart who and what we are. So when we see something like that, it kind of resonates with us, even though the reality of today is made up to appease us, to make us feel good on the screen that we made a score about Wakanda, even though they psychologically attacked us and thereby we let the CIA in. I could go on for days about how they open the door and get us every time. This game is about mind control. Mind control. And once we understand and accept death as just another aspect of what we are, another part of our journey, then we'll be able to beat this life as a cinch. If we think all of our eggs are in living as a human, then we could be manipulated. We can be mind control. All the problems we have is based upon us investing in something that we was actually pretty much over at one point. That's what the Egyptians were doing. It's about getting out of here. So if we're trying to stay here instead of residence, and I could tell you mythologies where they teach you Shiva, Hanuman, shit down to Charlie in the chocolate factory, where there's a mythology where these kings want to build houses in this place. Shiva and actually Charlie said, I'm gonna make your house or your kingdom out of chocolate, but you can't live in it. So what they're trying to say symbolically is you're passing through here. You see the movie Riddick, one of my favorite was a very heavy metaphysical chakra story, the first Riddick, with Lord Marshall. When he lands in crematoria, which represented the root chakra, what he said, well, are you going to take residence here? How long is your bid? He said, no, I'm just passing through. The Masonic man who's saying, I'm just a traveler. What they're trying to tell you, this was all code for you. You're not supposed to take residence here. The fight is not, like I said, there's levels of it. You know what I'm saying? And if you feel compelled to do that, we need to do, everybody needs to do everything they feel they came here to do. At the end of the day, this is a whole learning process. Yes, sir.
Now, I know you don't believe in Jesus. I know you don't believe in Allah and the Muslims' God. What is God to you? Like when people say God, because there's so many different deities of God. What does God mean to you when I reference God?
It means Sadnetta. It means Bobby. It means every Negro around here walking around doing every Negro thing. It's not even a attitude. It is the absolute of what you are. Now, more specifically, we are actually greater than what we would call a God. A God is actually just a title. And a God, all those attributes that they give God as a creator and all those things. See, magic is another way of saying God, because I'm able to create whatever reality I want. I'm able for my personal situation. And once I empowered over the years people with same technique, they're able to create their own personal space. Ultimately, the next step should be a quantum collective. That's when we truly get together, when we have something to offer. So God is actually you sleeping. God, or the Godhead, is what we're coming to. Anything that's outside of you is a training, a misinformation, and mind control. So if you feel God is anything outside of you, maybe you need to do a little bit more. It's not up to me to convince you. It's up to you to convince yourself who God is. So ultimately, Sanet is God. Even in the so-called human flaw that we can say, he's God. In fact, I look for the human flaw because the perfected human is the worst God ever. You get what I'm saying? So we're looking for a messiness, because the more messy we get as humans, the more greater our spirits is rising.
Okay. 20 years ago, I heard Phil Valentine say, man created God. When I say that to these people today, they look at me like I'm crazy, like man created God. I asked the people one thing: which was here first, man or religion? And if they say man was here first, then where do man go when he died? Before religion came on the set, there was no such thing as heaven and hell. So if man was here first, that right there is most likely, when you ask that question, you'll find that nobody can never answer that question. So where does man go? If man was here first before religion, where did we go when we die or when we pass on? And another thing I want you to touch on is that there's really no such thing as death. No. We've been made to fear it, but I remember Bobby Hemmett saying about 20 years ago, that's when life really begins. You see what I'm saying? Talk more about that.
All right, so no religion, man first. First, to be more specific, your mind is God. So when you get the first law of Tahuti, the mind is all, the universe is mental. When you do the wisdom on that particular piece of knowledge, you have to say to yourself, well, if the universe is mental, that means everything in the universe is from my mind. And if the mind is all, and we call God all, then my mind must be God. So I teach in a more practical way. If you master your mind, you master the universe. And to master your mind, you really have to know how it ticks. So in one of the negative way it ticks, if it cannot have answers, it needs to look for something to define itself. That's how the ego works. The ego has only one goal. It is your humanity. It needs to survive. It will tell yourself anything and everything. So when you don't have the answers, or the answers are sleeping, or you're not at a mature point to start knowing how to look for them within, you start defining things outside of you as God. So the sky is God, this is God, that's God. When there are actually aspects of all of this is aspects of your mind. So someone say, I may worship a tree or a cloud. They're actually aspects of your mind. You created all of this. Your mind is all. Your mind is the mind of God. So without the proper nutrition and the proper guidance and the proper training, we tend to take things outside of us and say, well, that's God, whatever emotionally resonates with us. So once you get past the emotion and philosophies, and you take that journey within, you take that journey within, what you will start to find is self-realization. This thing is about know thyself. Yourself is your mind. So the second part, there's no death.
Right.
There's no death. Well, we know from third grade, energy never dies. You know what I'm saying? And there's deep meditations, there's deep rituals. Me and Bobby done did everything under the sun, even before I opened my mouth 10 years ago, about touching on at the footsteps is as far as you can go with death. I've seen worlds, crystal cities. I could go through a laundry list and have over the years of the things I experienced through spiritual work before I decided to even open my mouth. We were talking first, I stopped, and I went into heavy training with Bobby, and we went in on everything. So for my first-hand experience, I died in my sleep, came back. I've told this story plenty of times. I've seen what it is. I've talked to anything. I could talk to anything. This is really about the work. So I'm not talking just from a theory. I do this work, and I've shown others how to do the work. And everything we've seen, I've seen joyous feelings. It may be hard to explain, but I would have to say, you got to first remember you came from that world when you were born here. So coming from that world, the feelings, the certain joys that you can personally say that you may feel that you can't even explain to me from childhood, you were getting reminded of where you were from then. Your mind, it depends. We could go on for days. Your mind builds the worlds you go to next. Whatever you're suffering with from here can be your hell from where you go to next, or whatever outlook you see yourself can be your heaven. So a lot of the mind calisthenics is really letting go of these ideas that you hold on to and philosophies as a human being. Now, I'm not saying you have to do this. Only other way. You do what you got to do. But what I found out in occult work is a constant day-to-day cycle of releasing that which you think you know as a human. To be a god and human, they don't operate in the same space. They operate in polarity. So you're either doing human being shit or you're doing more advanced spiritual shit, which we could say, let's just say God shit, which ultimately is Titan shit because you're a chaos melanin being. So now, which is actually above the abyss. So when you look at Kabbalah, you have Bina and Chokmah, which are Saturn. Saturn are Titans. Below that abyss becomes was Zeus, Jupiter, which is the first Sifra below the abyss, which is the king of the gods. So the gods, there's 6 of them, which are also the Titans, which represent formation down here. Above that Doth, above death, which is what Doth is the world of the real. So to ultimately now, because we're having a human experience, we're getting tastes of the world of the real if you're doing the work and you know how to search through the meditations. If you're just saying Om and breathing, you're gonna be a better human. But it's really about mind focus and relieving yourself from humanity, and you will push and get any answer you want. There's nothing that is separated from us, only between a veil. And that's what that means. That means anything could be pierced. So you have to pierce it with your consciousness. So to pierce to the realm of death and to get answers, to talk to those who have made the transition, not just, I got a message. No, to have real fluid conversations, to get guidance. My house is bought. Nothing we lack for. And that's because there's spiritual guidance that show me. We talk about the ancestors a lot, but we really don't know how to have the mentality. All they are is just energies that are resonating. They're not people who are concerned about you if you're not concerned about them. That's why a lot of black people suffer, because they don't understand how to commune with this energy, because the mentality is what's needed. If you have a pro-human mentality, nothing in the spiritual world can see that. It's the worst case scenario for them. You got to turn it around. Humanity is the only true death. It's the only true death. And I get we need health and Moorish law. I'm against none of that. Do whatever you came to this planet to do, because it's all a part of one great work. None of us are a mistake. None of us are in the wrong. You're here to do what you came to do. So some of us came to do this, some came to do that. I've been telling this for years. People, I think, appreciate it because they're having firsthand experiences with some of the methodologies that I've shared. And we found out emphatically years ago, there's no death. It just goes on and on. We talk to them all. I've given transmissions to them all. I've said things that came to pass and so on and so forth, which means it's really happening. People are having the same success. So I don't have to champion it. I've been telling people how to do it themselves.
All right. What is your take or understanding on flat Earth?
Well, my true take on it is like, you don't really even fucking know. And that's at the end of the day. So when they say, Panic, are you a round earther or a flat earther? I know I'm going to get the fuck off of Earth. You know what I'm saying? So I really don't, like I said, I don't really go in for an argument. Pick whatever you like and roll with it. Do what works for you. That's always been my motto. And anybody say, well, Panic, that's wrong. My answer to them is, you're right. It is wrong. But to me, it's working. You know what I'm saying? To me, I feel comfortable as I slip in my tub with my shit, and you should too. So and if you do, there's nobody you have to tell it to. You know what I'm saying? But yourself. So round earth or flat, I don't really care because we really don't know. We haven't had any apparatus for quite some time. But I will say what I did find interesting. There was a debate between young Pharaoh and Brother Sanchez. Now, Brother Sanchez came with a lot in one sitting, a lot, which I've seen myself, a lot of ancient documents that show they seen the earth as this flat plane. You know what I'm saying? And really, most people are championing around Earth when white folks came out and said the Earth was round. At least at this point, they didn't have anything. They couldn't fly. How did they figure that out? Right. So that says a lot about that. And then all I go in the words of my teacher. Show me in the ancient texts. You get what I'm saying? And that's what we go for. So I'll go with it. It's round today. I'm happy. Let's be round. Is it flat today? I'm happy. Let's do cartwheels. I don't care either way. We are beyond this earth. We are universal beings. We are before time. We will end time. I think we need to think bigger. You get what I'm saying? Whether it's flat or round, the fact that we have a debate shows the wretched state of our consciousness. Is just the fact that we have to argue it shows that we don't control nothing about this planet. We can't even find out if we really wanted to. That really is sad to me. You get what I'm saying? That's the sad part. So I don't care either way. Let's get off.
All right. Last question, brother. Now, there's another thing going back and forth all over the internet, and it's been doing this since the 70s. It's just coming back up with a whole new generation. And that is, we are not Africans. We are Aboriginals. We don't have African blood. You see, I could roll with, yeah, we got some Aborigines in our family, but when you say we don't have no African blood, that's where I draw the line. Like, come on, family, what is you talking about, brother? We got African because we intermix with each other a long time ago. What is your understanding on that?
Like I said, I don't try to go on that level of thinking. I try to think of a big picture. This entire planet is ours. This universe is ours. Whatever our physical blood and physical remains, your mind is what we need to be cultivating. Ultimately, when this is all said and done, you still will exist. Then what would you be? You get what I'm saying? Then what will you call yourself? And that name is what I really seek. So it's not to put anything down or not to say anything. I just don't go in for that type of back and forth because let's say we identify as the absolute positive and only African on the planet, then what? We'll still be punching in at Wendy's. You get what I'm saying? We'll still be doing the same thing. So once we identify and get it down to, then what? So that then what is what I usually try to stay on because we can be arguing all day about everything. You know what I'm saying? About pizzas and Happy Meals.
All right, brother. You've been making some power moves lately, man. You've been on the big stage with some powerful brothers. Last time I seen you was with the Duke of Tears. You was with Phil Valentine, and now again today you are here with one of the grandmaster metaphysical teachers.
Dr. Lee.
What are you? Oh, that's right, Dr. Lee Mel Bay, and we got A.A. Rashid on the ticket. So, brother, what is it today that you're going to bring something different? I know you coming with the fire. What are you coming with today, brother?
The sad part is you really don't need nothing different. The same message needs to be applied. But I'm gonna talk about more specifically, which we haven't got to yet. This is really about the documentary that Rich put together, the God Frequency. Right. So I'm gonna try to define it from a cult standpoint, the God Frequency, and draw a line between the God Frequency and the human frequency. Not to really down one or the other, say one is better, but to really acknowledge that they're two different things. And how to up your frequency to a God frequency, ultimately for all that economic prosperity and health and well-being and peace of mind and satisfaction and know thyself that we're trying to find, is really it's in your own thought process, that makes this the true reality. You know what I'm saying? We have this name for it, magic, but it's really unnecessary. Magic is nothing but you expressing in your own mind or our own reflective of what you naturally are. You are abundance. Your mind created everything in existence, and your destiny, your origins, destiny, and where you could be right in this moment is abundance. But it's really about a frequency that puts you there. The frequency of what's going on in humanity and what Trump's doing is a human frequency. And you may be absolutely right about what you're saying, but the price you pay is more humanity for that. And ultimately, it's a choice you have. It's a personal choice. It's not a choice I can convince or sell somebody. It's a personal choice. If you chose to go beyond humanity, you're going to have to leave your ego, leave your argument, leave your perspective where it is. You can own and have your perspective, but you have to kind of not react at Trayvon Martin. And I know that sounds hard. You still can have the compassion in your heart, you get what I'm saying, for what you see another black boy. But if you react and act out anyway, you actually been sucked into why they do that. They put him on TV. There's a black boy getting killed constantly, but they put him and make him an issue because they know you will react that way. And just your reaction that way, no matter how intelligent you react, is still a human one at the end of the day, and that's what they want. What they don't want you to understand is about death and go, lucky Trayvon. No matter how he, let's see, your ego says that white Zimmerman, fat, nasty son of a bitch took him out, and we feel and of course I feel that way too, but me acting on it, even by wearing a black hood or eating Skittles, is actually me participating in the ritual that they created. And we get sucked into this. That's our mind control problem. We get sucked into it because we know we're right, but they're not looking for right or wrong. They're looking for your participation. So once you start to disassociate yourself from the emotional connection to these things, which are hard. These are your boys. These are your people. Once you do that, what you'll see is a different form of energy and power starts to come in you. And it's one that actually, you'll find that humanity is actually your bitch. We're following humanity and we'll go crazy. But once you change the God frequency, humanity was born out of it. So you kind of put your mother or your father on line, and then humanity follows. My ego, sure thing.
Now it's easy to say, but how do we deal with this as a people? Like, let's say there's another Trayvon Martin. How do we deal with it?
We don't deal with it as a people. We deal with it as an individual. So individually, you're going to have to make choices. Now, when this hits hard, you still feel your compassion. You have a heart of gold. But your expression of it, you're going to have to, and this is maybe a corny way of saying it, sort of suffer in a little bit of silence. But the silence is actually you no longer participating in the ritual that they put on TV for you to participate in. They're doing it so you feel as a people you must act, react, cry, yell, hit them with a stick. And they don't care if you're right or wrong. Yeah, they don't care if you're right or wrong. No, we got a little bit of time. They don't care if you're right or wrong. They just want your participation. So when we say as a people, then that's another way of saying mind control. See, they don't want us to be individuals, because when we become powerful as individuals, then collectively we could come together, because then we'll have something to add. When you think of them old towns, Black Wall Street and all the Rosewoods and all of that, every single person had a function. Everyone had a function, and then we were able to collectively come together and be a people. You get what I'm saying? We can't be a people with nothing to offer each other but emotional support and reactionary goddamn dialogue after. See, we saying when they kill a Trayvon Martin, you come into your Godhead, they won't fuck with the Trayvon Martin. You get what I'm saying? They won't fuck with the Trayvon Martin. They would know better because we don't have any power. That's why we could do it. So they could do shit and we act and say, we the people are suffering. What should the people do? No, as individuals, we're not going to do nothing but do our work and create a frequency on the planet where it's not conducive to that lifestyle of killing a Trayvon Martin or any one of us. They can touch us because we have no protection. Your magic is your protection. And we've been having our guards down trying to argue with these motherfucking Trumps. And we cried when fucking Obama won and cried when Trump won. Ain't nothing changed. We the same Negro. Our mind is the same. You get what I'm saying? Ain't nothing changed. We have to change here, and it's an individual. It's called know thyself, not know thy people. And when you know thyself is to know thy people. But our people ain't acting like ourselves. We're acting like a creation. Every solution that we've ever come up with is a reaction to what they're doing. We're actually trying to win an economy that they created. That still makes you their bitch in my world. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to vote our way, a better way of voting. That shit is fucking, I don't know what to make of that. This is their system. As long as you participate in their nonsense, no matter how intelligent you approach it, you're still participating in their nonsense. And what if that's the goal? What if that's the goal? It's quite simple. Everything you ignore kind of goes away. We give them much more attention than they ever will deserve. We think we're insulting them by calling them the devil. We just gave them a history. So before they got to the planet 2,000 years ago, who the fuck was the devil then? You know what I'm saying? Who's the devil then? That's a general way of saying it. It's not even metaphysical. We went metaphysical in the devil. That's a polarity. It's not even a thing to talk about. But I get the concept. I'm not silly. Or when we saying who's the evil, and it was really done because white people black people hated the devil and loved Jesus. So for Elijah Muhammad to identify them as the devil, it first put them in a position of knowing who your first enemy was. It was a step one thing. So ultimately, I think as individuals, that's where we first need to start. Understanding first how your mind works, how mind control works, how your ego versus your subconscious versus your unconscious works, and how this, that, or the other thing will feed it. How you feed your humanity through your ego, how you feed your spirituality by subconscious programming. Your subconscious dictates your reality. And what you feed it repetitiously, or through trauma, or through your acceptance of trauma, like Trayvon Martin, that's why they give it to you, and symbols actually program your reality. And we are not addressing I've been addressing these things, but we're not addressing the true things that change our reality. So when I started doing the repetitious programming of I'm God, I had a drum machine, I recorded myself saying I'm God. I used to sleep for hours. And then you see me on the earlier tapes, I'm God. I didn't even realize it because I programmed that reality. But see what that does, what that basic thing does, what it does is every time I read a book after that, I read it as a God. Every time I read a study, I read it as a God, because I program myself to say I'm a God. And this bypasses my thinking, my feelings, my opinions. This is the core programming. And trauma, they try to program you with trauma. See, Africans used to use trauma, rites of passage, cutting, tattooing, the initiations. They use trauma because they understood it programmed the psyche. And of course, we will no longer use trauma and symbols. And this is a world of symbols. It programs you. We're not even dealing with the basic of how to program ourselves with power. We're reacting to their power, and that's facts. No matter how eloquent we speak, we're still reacting to their power. To gain power is really a self thing. It's something you have to find internally. That's the darkness. There's no dark side. The darkness is that which dwells within. That's what's hidden within you. Enlightenment, which is what you're trying to see, is an aha moment between you and your own mind. Then you can share light. So my whole goal was like, fuck that. When I started reading Occult, and I'll share this really quick. When I started reading Occult, I've been trained all my life like anybody else. Our people, the people. This is for your people. And then I started reading more and more of this Occult, and I didn't see any we or us. Everything was I. And since I've been programmed a healthy life of us and our people and our struggle and things, this was bothering me. So the more I kept doing it, I'm thinking, well, I guess this is what it is. I have to put what I think about our people and our struggle and what we need and how much it hurts. Many people came over the years, to my surprise, how much I changed their life, some with tears in their eyes, when my goal was just to become more enlightened. But then I realized once I had some light to offer, just like how moths or anybody would be attracted to light, that's actually how you save your people. You have to become an example of that light, not an example of an ill mouthpiece that can say anything, talk anything, and make them feel a certain way, but they walk home with nothing. Give them chores to do, and that's all I did. Methodology. I already realized Bobby did what he did for many years before I even stepped on the scene. So I was like, well, do this, try that for realization. That was my whole thing. People have realized it for themselves, not because I told them, because whatever they realize, they have the realization, and then they have something to offer somebody else from experience, not theory, not a book, not a YouTube video, from theory, from actually going through an experience. And that has been the key. I think if we have more of these experiences, whatever they are, and I think ultimately that people will come into a new realization of their own self and have something true to offer that will really give some people a hands-on way of dealing with their consciousness, as opposed to, and there's nothing wrong with lectures or YouTubes or whatever, because we have been so trained in public school. We need these things to put us back in the seat. But ultimately, I say to start putting your hands on something, start trying some things, start trying to see some things, start dealing with the true self, start dealing with your own questions and answers of what you personally need, because we've been trained, our people, but what do you personally need? You know what I'm saying? What do you personally need? And that's ultimately the goal, I would say. Try to make it more personal, to know yourself, whatever that may be, whatever path. If you don't know, I have a lot of lectures where I taught this, that, the other, with a lot of names, where I'm not just talking and saying, go do it. No, I've showed it for plenty of time.
One thing about Bobby Hemmett, and I know you are picking up that torch and you are beginning to do the same thing. Bobby Hemmett always told us, make sure you watch that movie. Make sure you go check that movie out. And some of our people still say, man, what you talking about? It's just entertainment. Why is the movie? But why do the Europeans always, most of the times, they'll put something in the movie to see if you're smart enough to figure out what's coming? You know what I'm saying? They letting you know what's about to go down. Talk to us about that. Why does Hollywood always do that?
That's a good question. First and foremost, in script writing, if I just want to be a script writer, the template for all stories on this planet are mythology. So just to be a script writer with no agenda, I have to study mythology. There's always a bad guy, always a love interest, always a chore to do. There's always a hero. There's these same scenarios throughout mythology that keep coming up. Now, we did that because we were trying to tell a story of DNA, cosmology, the human body, so on and so forth. So these were uniformed anyway. But it is the template for stories. So some of these guys I've seen, they just tell two stories, because there's two aspects of your mind that's always working, and that's one of the biggest things that black people understood. We be in a very different place. Your subconscious understands and intakes differently from your conscious. Now, when you go to a movie theater, you're primed. You're going in a hypnotizing situation. They turn off the lights, there's sound around you, you're in darkness, so you're going to be hypnotized. And not only that, you have something called suspension of disbelief. What you would normally disbelieve, you suspend. You're going to see Neo fly. You're going to see Superman walk through walls and bend shit. So so if I said Sonetta, he flew from Harlem, you'd be like, nigga. But if I said Superman did, he'd be like, what? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So so you're already there to be hypnotized. So you're primed for it in these places.
Especially with the theme music. So
theme music, yes. Jingle. I could go on for commercials, jingles, so on and so forth. But for movies, so the occultists are going to speak their story to that because it's primed for two stories. Like Chronicles of Riddick, it looks like a Lord Marshal. Let's even do one that I've done, Wizard of Oz. Ruby Red Slippers, root chakra. First of all, Kundalini. She's in the house in the tornado. Kundalini. She's thinking about going home. They talking about us. They talking about astral traveling. That's us. We always. Red shoes, root chakra. Her house lands is in the root chakra. She's in the quantum world, Munchkin land. The witch had on orange dress. She says the yellow brick road, the orange dress, of course, the sacral chakra, says yellow brick road. That's the path she's walking. That's your solar chakra. She gets to the Emerald City. That's green. She talks to the wizard. You didn't see him. You seen his head. He was just a voice. He was the throat chakra. He said, go deal with the witch. She was the pineal. She melted it. That was the melanin. Then you could go home. They went through a whole chakra story. Then they went to 3 levels of consciousness. The first person she met was the scarecrow. The second person she met was the heart. So she met intellect, emotion, the heart, the Tin Man, and then the lion, the animal, the beast, the lower part. So they're giving it to you while you're seeing the top story is just to entertain your conscious and your ego. Oh, I liked it. It was a great story. But there's a subconscious message always. Now, they may not, Frank Oz, who wrote it, may not be, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is another one. He may not have been sinister, let's just say. He was an occultist, clearly. But he may not have done it for sinister reasons. What they understand is to really capture you in the movie, they have to talk to 2 parts of your mind. So in the best case scenario in the movie, to make just a good movie, they're going to talk, you're going to have an opinion about a movie. I didn't like it, it was too slow. So they don't care about that. They want to give you chakra stories that's in your DNA.
Did you see Robin Hood yet?
I fell asleep on it.
Oh, because people is...
They saying it's metaphysical?
They said...
Yeah, I know it's a Morris. I know, I seen it was, he was doing the Morris thing. He was training them. I'm going to watch it again. Yeah. But I fell asleep. I'm taking the most simple. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. There was... these 7 golden tickets, 7 chakras. There was the root chakra. Remember, there was especially the second one, the one with Johnny Depp. There was a demon boy. He had the demon shirt. He was watching TV. He was the root chakra. Then they had the fat boy. He was the sacral chakra. Then they had the belligerent girl. Daddy, get me this. She was this chakra. Then we had the sweet Charlie. He was the heart chakra. Then we had the girl blowing bubble gums with the blue. She was this chakra. Charlie himself, the Chocolate Factory, was the pineal gland. Your pineal gland is a melanin factory. That's the Chocolate Factory. Charlie had the top hat in the purple. He was the crown. Willy Wonka rather, and so on and so. So they what they're trying to do is not necessarily, and there's sinister movies too, where they're actually talking to our subconscious mind as black people for suppression. I mean, one will probably come to mind, but I've seen them. I've done it. I actually wrote a chapter in on my book, which you would thought it was innocent because, here's a perfect example: Sana Lathan's movie with the white boy, Something New. We look at it and we will get disgusted that she's with the white boy, and we go, oh, Sana Lathan, this white boy. But I broke down in my book, they're trying to catch our attention and our emotional disgust. Oh, here they go with the white boy again. You know what I'm saying? Sana Lathan, our queen. So once we stay there, we don't, our conscious mind blocks our subconscious mind only if we're aware of it. So that's what a ritual is, to do it behind your back so your subconscious mind can accept it without any blockages from your opinion, your conscious mind to say, wait a minute, what the fuck you doing? So it needs to happen without you saying, what the fuck you doing? So while we had our mind on why is she with the white boy, they dropped so much metaphysical programming in there, which I broke down in my book. I did a whole chapter on it, it was one of my blogs, but then I put it in the book. It was that part. There's other subconscious programming. One year, Sam Jackson did 3 movies about lowering black people's kundalini. Freedom Town, Snakes on the Plane, Black Snakes Moan. Freedom Town was locking down the Kundalini people. Snakes on the Plane was lowering the Kundalini energy back down to the ground. It was all about landing that plane. You had a pineal gland head. The sister on the plane was studying to be a lawyer. She was Mayat. It was Kundalini. Then you had the raw dog on the ground, Shakti energy, which is the pent up sexual energy at the base of the shot. He was taping that little white girl, which should throw us off to the radiator. He was Lazarus. So they put this 3 in a row, which was a whole attack subconsciously on black people's kundalini. That's your war. That's what we're fighting. That's what we're fighting. That's your war. That's what we're doing. So ultimately, we need to understand a little bit more and a little bit broader about how our war and our attack is. Our war and our attack is is probably going to be more on your mind, because they recognize, as I pointed out earlier, the mind of God is your mind. So they're going to attack your mind. The physical stuff is to keep you occupied. All the trickery that they're doing in politics is to keep you occupied while they do the true war against your subconscious mind. So those 3 movies was a whole attack 1 year on lowering your Kundalini energy. The whole 3. So as we cheered for letting Sam land this plane safely, or whatever was going on with him and that white girl in that movie, we were actually cheering against our own Kundalini and not knowing it. That's the game.
All right, my brother Panic, I want to thank you, brother, for taking the time out to speak to the audience. Let the people know, if they want more information from you, where can they go and get information? And you do lectures as well. How do they get in touch with you?
Well, I'm easy to get in contact with. As Brother Sarnetta pointed out, it's actually been a little bit minute now since I've been talking consistently. So if you Google Brother Panic, I'm quite easy to find. But my website is Occult Lectures. My YouTube is Occult Lectures. I mean, I have all the Facebook, so it's easy to contact me just by Googling. I come up on the first page. It's been a while now, and I have video after video over 10 years, 5-hour long old school lectures all day, strictly information on many different subjects in the realm of the occult. So mind you, this is not something that what I do is not something that you can be on the fence with. It's either something it's more of a calling. So it's a level in your understanding, because you are getting past humanity. Some of us did come here to go through some more human stuff. So I respect that. I'm not trying to convince someone who says, look, all I want to do is eat grilled cheeses, or well, knock yourself silly. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to convince you. You got to hear something in the frequency and when I'm talking. So I don't even know how to convince you. You get what I'm saying? You have to walk through the door convinced.